have a motion to open the meeting?
So made. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. First note of business tonight is gonna be Stoughton Disabilities Commission. We're gonna have a presentation by them, but before we go into that, we have a continued public hearing for the Stoughton Logistics Park tonight. That hearing has been continued. They've asked for continuance to our next meeting. So if anybody is here for that, specifically, we're not gonna have any testimony on that tonight. So they can go on, that will be on the next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, they've requested a continuance to the May 11th meeting.
I'm sorry, May 11th, okay.
And that will be at Town Hall.
Okay. So if anybody's here for that, then that's gonna go on. So, if we can have the presentation of Stoughton Disabilities Commission, we'll take that now.
Thank you. I won't take much of your time. You've got a busy agenda tonight. I mostly wanted to just introduce myself and introduce the Disabilities Commission. It hadn't been very active in the town for many years, and about a year and a half ago, we reformed and have been meeting with various boards and committees and departments just to introduce ourselves and what we can do. And basically, we are a resource for the town on anything to do with accessibility, whether it's accessibility for individuals with hearing impairment, vision impairment, mobility challenges, mental illness, things like that. So certainly as things come before you, if you have questions about how any of the ADA laws may apply, we can certainly do some research and get back to you on those. Jack Erickson has been appointed as the ADA coordinator for the town, which I think is a great role for him, given all of his knowledge about buildings and things of that sort. So I mostly just wanted to come and say hello and just let you know that we exist. We have a town email. You can certainly reach out to us at any point. If anybody would ever like to join our meeting, we'd love to have you as well.
Are you on the town website?
We are on the website, yep. Yep, we
And
meet
you-
monthly on the fourth Thursday of the month.
Okay, so you do meet monthly?
We
Okay.
do meet monthly. We tend to take the summer off, given people's vacation schedules, but we do meet monthly.
Very good.
Okay?
Anybody have any questions? Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, as I stated earlier, the next item on the agenda was the Stoughton Logistics Park, which has been continued. Item number 4 on the agenda is a new public hearing to be held at the petition of the applicant Corvo Properties, 4 Porter Street, Stoughton, Mass. 02072, and the owner Indunas Brothers LLC, 466 Sumner Street, Stoughton, Mass., represented by Strong Point Engineering Solutions, 340 Manley Street, Unit 2, West Bridgewater, Mass., for site plan approval under Section 10.6, site plan approval of the Town of Stoughton bylaws and certain special permits under Section 3.1.4A10, mixed-use building, for the proposed development of a mixed-use building containing a retail store and 33 apartments located at 0 Atkinson Avenue Extension, assesses map 61, lot 060 and 061 in the general business and the RC residential suburban C zoning districts. Would the applicant and or his representatives come up to the table, please?
Oh, that's not good.
So they've been notified. Anybody heard from them or anything?
I haven't heard from them. It looked like an engineer was here a little while. Let's check.
I spoke to the engineer today, told him it was at the library.
So they knew it was at the library,
Yeah.
okay?
Nope.
You're up.
You're up.
That was quick.
Do we have plans on the screen, or do we need to set up an easel? Put them up on the screen? Let's go to the existing condition sheet first. We'll do a
Could you
little bit of
guys,
that.
could you guys say your name and
Absolutely.
where you're from and why you're involved in the project?
Yes, we will, absolutely. For the record, first of all, good evening, everyone. For the record, my name is Eric Dias. I'm a registered professional engineer with Strong Point Engineering Solutions. Here tonight representing Corvo Properties for the project on Atkinson Ave Extension. With me is Stephanie Hoban, who is a project engineer for my office, who worked on the project with me. She's here to make sure I don't say the wrong things. And to her right is the applicant, Anthony Rosito.
Okay, just so that everybody understands the process, we will have the applicant make their presentation to us at this time. We will then allow the engineer and the town planner to make any type of comments that they've had during the plan review. Us as a board will have any questions and discussions we have of the applicants and/or the engineers at that time. After that, this process is done, I will open it up to the general public for anybody that wants to make comment at that point in time about the project. Okay? You're up.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is Atkinson Ave Extension, just by way of orientation to the south of this property, Page South, as well as geographically south, is the Dana Barrows building, which I think we're all pretty much familiar with. There are a couple of wetland complexes on and adjacent to the property. By 138 on our property is a small swale. It's kind of a wetland that was formed from a drainage ditch. That drains under Atkinson Ave to the north. Whitman Brook comes down from the north toward Atkinson Ave. And then there is a discharge that goes out toward the west underneath Route 138. It's a piped culvert for about 250 feet. And then it discharges and goes on its way that way. So the reason I bring all that up is to say this. As far as drainage is concerned, everything from the site in the existing condition is pretty much flowing to one of two places. It's flowing either to the small pocket wetland that's on the site near 138, or it's actually flowing onto the surface of Atkinson Ave, being collected in the closed drainage system, discharged to the wetland body that's north of Atkinson Ave, and all joining together at that culvert that discharges under 138. So that is our design point for the purposes of stormwater management, basically. So I just wanted to highlight that briefly. If we can go to the next sheet, sir. This is our layout plan. The project is a proposed mixed-use building. We're looking at 33 apartments in the building. The proposed building is approximately 12,000 square feet. It does have a retail component on the lower floor. The way the building is set up, you come into the building in the garage level. There is garage parking in the building, and we do have adequate surface parking to meet the requirements. There is a parking table on the plan. I'll spare the gory details of the numbers for the time being. We can certainly touch on that if we need to. Dumpsters are located to the west over toward that wetland that we talked about. And other than that, it's surface parking all around the building. If we can go to the next sheet. Stormwater management is very largely subsurface infiltration systems. We have some test pit data out there. We have some good soils on site, so we took advantage of that. We have a subsurface infiltration off and gets all that water back into the ground. We have another one that collects the driveway area, and gets that back into the ground. We provide proper treatment, proper groundwater recharge, all of those things that are required under the both the Massachusetts Stormwater Management Standards and the town bylaw. Moving on to the next sheet, just quickly, we have municipal water and sewer on the site. As you notice, to the east of the site, there is a sewer pump station. We worked with the DPW in Mr. McNulty's office quite a bit and came up with a design for what that would look like, and that's what's reflected here as far as the sewer is concerned. We also do have a small sewer pump station that's going to collect effluent from both the ground level business retail facility that's there and the oil and water separators that are located in the garage level. Other than that, water is coming in off of Atkinson Ave. Utilities are all coming in off of Atkinson Ave Extension, and that is it. Beyond that, if we scroll up, I'll just highlight a couple of things real quick. Excuse me, the other direction, thank you. We provided a full erosion control plan, the erosion and sedimentation control plan in accord with all the NIPD's requirements to make sure that the site stays clean during construction. I believe the next sheet in the set is a landscaping plan that we have provided, and we provided some color and things like that to go with it. And then the rest of the site, the rest of the set, if I'm not mistaken, is just a photometric plan showing that we are dark sky compliant. We have downward facing lights, we have 0-foot candles, so we're not lighting up the neighborhood at the property lines, things like that. And the rest of the set is just standard construction details and things like that that the board's probably not terribly interested in at this time. I will say a couple of days ago, earlier this week, we did receive department head comments. I don't think we need to go through them in great detail, but I will say we have been through them internally. I don't see anything in those comments that concerns me from a point that it might impact or change the site layout and design dramatically at all. I think they're mostly of a technical nature and things that we can certainly address, and when we leave here today, in the subsequent weeks, we will be working with the engineering department and the DPW to satisfy those things. We wanted, though, however, to still come in tonight, get your comments, comments both from the board and from the abutters, and try to incorporate as much as we can in one effort, and hopefully come back with a revised set of plans that checks everybody's boxes and be done with this. So that is the overall bird's eye view of this. I'm glad to continue to drone on and bore everybody to death, or I can turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman, and we'll go your direction.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There is technical comments that's been made both by the planner and the engineer. I'd like to have them highlight their highlight points. I've read through them. I'm sure the other board members have. There's a couple of comments I want to make on them, and then we can kind of go from there, but please continue.
Well, Craig and I can kind of tag team this.
Yep.
Some of the notes are basic, they need some additional, labeling on parking spaces. Item number 5 actually is a slight of concern. There is a requirement for 5 feet, and right at the corner where that parking to the east, that last parking space to the east is less than 5 feet. They need to either revise the plan to provide the 5 feet, which I wholeheartedly would recommend, or they would have to apply for a special permit waiver, and that would, they'd have to, do a separate public hearing and have the site plan delayed until they can get this special permit waiver. So I hope that they can revise the thing to meet the 5 feet. A lot of the other stuff is pretty much detailed. The one thing that I will highlight is that the landscape plan is quite minimal, and I'm recommending that a much more comprehensive landscape design. For example, they're only using 2 basic shrubs. I have some concerns regarding the providing where the dumpster enclosure is. It's elevated up, above the road, even though there's a lot of trees down in where that little wetland is. Provide some additional height and evergreens, screening to kind of block up that dumpster enclosure. And then the other thing that they did not address, and it was addressed in actually a neighborhood comment letter, I believe that they submitted a narrative which was also labeled as their development impact report. I think they should revise that and really address the applicable sections for their development impact report. And then I will
So
turn
the development impact report wasn't a full report, is what you're trying to say?
Correct. It was strictly their narrative was, when they submitted it, was a narrative and / development impact report, and they only highlighted a few things. I think they really need to be much more detailed and specific on that. And that was pointed out in a comment letter also, and I agree with it. With that, I can let Craig kind of talk about some of the other site plan things that are more engineering related and the stormwater management.
Thanks, Bill. I'll start with stormwater management. I'm happy to see that, there are two separate systems on the site. One's for the roof runoff, which is generally considered clean. So they're collecting that and infiltrating that into the ground separately from the system that collects and treats the runoff from the pavement. So those runoff areas from the pavement are collected into deep sump catch basins, and then there's a vortechnic unit to clean it before it goes into the infiltration basin before it's discharged to the wetland area adjacent to Washington Street. Very happy to see that. However, in the stormwater calculations, there is a slight increase. It is very marginal in the 100-year storm design. I'd like to see if we can tweak the stormwater calc so that we can get that under the pre-development rates. All the other storm events maintain or reduce the stormwater runoff versus the existing conditions. So the system works in all storm events up to the 100-year, and then I think with a little tweaking, we can accomplish that for the 100-year as well. The sewer connection is shown to go to the northeast and tie into the lateral right before the wet well for the pump station. It's very deep, and I think we had some discussions about that early on, and I thought we were talking about going into one of the manholes in the street.
So, yeah, we're gonna have to get further clarification, but of course we'll accommodate.
Right, and I think we can work towards getting something that, obviously there's a connection there that will work. It's just getting
That would be a horrible thing not to run.
yeah. So we need to straighten that out. The water service right now, as it's proposed, is running up from the west side of the site in a sewer easement. I think we need to get that out of the sewer easement. And then Mr. McNulty had suggested looping that to the other water main that kind of cuts through the site. So that's all in his comment letter. So I think those are easily accomplished. I know that we did some witnessed soil test pits out there. Those weren't submitted. I didn't see those in the report. So we had some
We can add those.
pits from McPhail, but we need the soil logs from the witness.
So, would you want like actual borings prior to construction? Like the ones that are the better ones for like footing and all that?
Yeah, those aren't, that's not what we're looking for. It's just strictly for stormwater.
Gotcha, which we have.
Eric knows exactly what we're
Sure.
looking
Yeah,
for.
we do have that data. We can just add it into the stormwater report when we revise it. We'll get that right over to you.
Appreciate that. And then the electrical transformer is also in the northwest corner, and I believe it's proposed to be located in an easement.
Northeast corner?
I'm sorry, northeast,
the
sorry about that.
northeast,
Put it up there.
Um,
So we would have to pull
We'll
that.
have to find this.
I think you can shift it a little bit to the west and still be okay.
Yeah, that's probably gonna move anyways when the electric company gets involved, but we'll move it out of easement just for.
Great.
purposes of-
And then the plans didn't address a gas service. I didn't know if you were proposing to connect into gas, if the gas was available at this site. And the existing condition
Yes.
plan doesn't show it at this point in time.
We typically will run, if both are available, our typical design would be common areas and gas. And we typically heat our aprons,
Mhm.
garage aprons, walkways, for obvious reasons. We'll do those in gas and we'll do everything else with heat pumps by electricity. So if it's available, which I don't know the answer to,
There is gas in 138. There
we'll
is no
probably
gas
go
in
all
Atkinson.
electric then,
Okay.
rather than pull it out.
And I think that's, yeah, those are my highlights.
Okay. A couple of comments I'm going to make. Part of the submission package, we should have elevations of the building on all four sides, colored elevations of the building, so we can understand materials and that type of stuff as we're going forward.
So I was behind on the elevations, and I'm still unsure, but I have 3 drafts, and I printed out 5 copies that we're playing around with, and I'm obviously open to whatever you want. It was just kind of like, I was taking handies up.
Yeah, why don't you, just so we have something we're looking
Yeah,
at, and then,
On
and
that?
also the public, yes, and also the public would have something that they could see it also. We don't have anything we can put up on the screen or anything. Come on now.
Okay, so this is just a couple copies. You can see right there, it says options, so the option would be safe, copies.
And part of the reason I was saying that is, one of the comments that the planner had made was about the dumpster. And normally in our history, we've asked for a 8-foot white fence that's higher than the dumpsters that's there, normally around them. But he made a comment about it being, with the materials of the building, and I think on this site, due to the location and what they're doing with it, I think that would be a proper way to do that, so that we could actually, it would kind of blend in, especially when you're looking at it from the street, and it becomes such a major feature from the main street. That's what I was thinking.
So kind of make the dumpster enclosure match the building facade.
Match whatever the building materials, facades are, so that as you're looking at it from 138 or from Atkinson, it looks like it's some of it. And instead of just kind of being just a white fence that's out there, and it kind of looks ugly from that part of
So
it.
the 3 sides.
The 3 sides, then you have a set of gates.
Doors can remain because they're lighter. If I started,
Exactly, but the 3 sides, that's what you're gonna see from the public, are the 3 sides. So I was thinking about that should be matching whatever building materials you're gonna have. Obviously, there's nothing, we don't have a definitive, but at least we could let some of those go out, where the public wanted to see them also, so we could see what they're doing. So just so I understand, we have 2,
3.
okay, I must have passed on the wrong ones,
Option
I'm
A,
sorry.
B, and C.
There's options A, B, and C.
Bottom left corner, you'll see it.
I see it, okay.
We'll keep this one,
So right now, I just have option A in front of me, I'll get the other ones, but,
Sorry.
so that, right now, that's the comments,
So there's 5 copies of each. So mathematically.
so we can
that's
pass them
possible.
back. We can pass them back. We somehow, we all screwed up,
That was
sorry.
my fault. I should have brought more. I apologize.
I don't have any Cs.
So the bottom
No,
left
A and
corner,
B.
it'll say option A, option B, or right.
Okay. So then,
2 views of the building.
2 views of the building, okay.
I have 2 options.
And, Mr. Chairman, that comment regarding the dumpster is just something I brought over through my career. That's a kind of something that,
Yeah, in this town, just so you know, the history is that we've always tried to enclose the dumpsters in a white PVC vinyl fence, higher than the dumpster. We don't want to see it higher than the, so some of these dumpsters now, they come odd sizes. You don't want to say 6 foot and the dumpster's sticking out 3 feet,
But-
so.
I think in this particular case, that's why I recommended they should have something similar and compatible.
It
so
may
blends
be,
in.
right, in this case, it may work. It doesn't always work in that case, but in this case, it may work. Right now, I'm gonna open up to the board. Does the board have any other questions or comments?
I have a couple. What's the elevation at the top of the hill where the residential houses are, and say the roof line of this building? Are they gonna be equal, or is there,
That's a great question. I don't have the exact height of the building in front of me, as Mr. Aceto said, we're still working out some of the architectural details, but eyeballing it, I would say the house at the top of the hill are probably looking over the top of this thing. If not, probably not by much, but they're probably looking over the top. That's certainly something we can investigate and get you an answer on.
yeah, I'd like to know if it's blocking their line of sight, or
Sure.
is it below?
From the top of that hill, it's about 15 feet, 10 to 15 feet the top of the hill. So it goes right below, like, the 2nd floor of the home behind. But it's set off that house by about 60 feet?
That sounds
About
right.
60
Yep.
feet away, and above
Okay.
that hill, it comes up about, again, like 10 to 15 feet. And then those trees that were planted, which I don't know when they were planted, but those go up. Somebody put screening in there already.
Right, that was done for the Dana Barrows.
Oh, but he went all the way down.
Yeah, that was part of what we had done with that, so
okay.
that was part of that.
Because I had a drone and I was trying to look at the view from the back, and you can't see beyond those trees typically. Well, in the winter, I'm sure you can see some, but
Right.
when I was looking at it, it was pretty.
So the rooftop, what you're showing on here is pretty clean, but are you gonna have your rooftop units up there, or what's gonna be on the roof?
Condensers will be on the roof.
Condensers will be on the roof. We gotta talk about a way of screening those and how that's gonna get set up, because that's a requirement and a part of our architectural review anyway.
Yep.
And in this situation, it's gonna be a little bit more different, because people are gonna be looking on your roof from their 2nd floors. We wanna make sure how we deal with that in the screening part of it.
Yeah, well, screen,
Okay.
however, deem appropriate.
All right.
My next question is there an affordable component of this? Gonna be any affordable
There
units?
is not an affordable component in it.
Okay. That's all I have for now. This is new.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Rick.
What type of retail business are you anticipating on the first floor?
I don't know at the moment. It's a pretty small space, so whoever will take it. For example, we did one in the downtown and we gave it away. So we'll probably do something similar to a local business looking to start out, to a local person, whether it's a lawyer, a doctor, not a doctor, but a lawyer or something like that, an architect or something of that
How
nature.
many square feet is being devoted to the retail area?
About 350 feet or something like that. Small, but enough to,
Size of this room, or less?
less than the room.
Less than this room.
Less than the room.
Less than this one.
Yeah.
So,
I'm done.
whereabouts on the building are you suggesting the retail?
So it's up on the northern corner. So those 3 spots we put there for it, but you can see in the northern corner, see the writing up at the top on the,
Okay.
kind of like front northern?
Northwestern by where the entrance comes in.
And would that have designated parking just for that?
We're gonna
retail?
designate those 3 spots for it, yeah, that you see kind of when you pull in on the right.
All right. The apartments, what size are I understood they were like 1 bedroom or,
1 bedrooms, so the bulk of them are 1 bedrooms.
okay.
There's 2 bedrooms and then there's 3 studios.
So, how many of each, do you know?
It's on the zoning table, so, 3 studio units, 24 one-bedroom units, and 9 two-bedroom units.
Is there any fencing that's being involved around this property at all?
That would be up to, as part of our site plan review. He's not proposing anything right now, but we could talk about
There's
that.
also storage in the building that comes with the units, so each unit will have its own storage facility. So hopefully nobody stores anything anywhere else but in the storage unit.
Okay. On your planting layout here, I always see that there's always a lack of showing what is existing on the borders and stuff like that, you know? So we see it's a wetlands area, but we don't get a real depiction of what's growing in that wetlands area. You know, natural borders up to the sides and stuff like that. So on some of these drawings, I'd like to see a little more, and maybe, like you said, there's the trees along the street that are there. You know, you could highlight those as existing, et cetera.
Existing conditions, you want a better grasp on what the existing conditions are.
Exactly, the entire, yeah, okay. What about solar issues? Is your roof designed to handle solar panels? Do you have charging stations for automobiles?
Charging stations, yes, I think we have to have charging stations.
Okay.
So solar was the first comment I wrote down when I sat down. I don't know the answer to that. Last time, the last building we just did, it wasn't worth it. It's changing fast. If there's a way that we can incorporate it and save some dollars, and why not?
And I know they mentioned about the elevation. Is that garage actually depressed?
No, it's level. You
It's
pull
level
right in,
with-
yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna make an answer. How many trees do you plan on taking down to make this building fit?
Really, I don't have an exact count of trees, and I can't go back to the existing conditions plan from here, but if you look, the northeastern third of the site maybe is treed, and other than that, going from there out to 138, we don't run into trees again until we get right near that wetland area. So it's not as if the whole site is forested now. We can certainly look into that and try to quantify that number, that's not a problem, but I don't know off the top of my head.
2 of the existing street trees will actually end up being removed just because they're in the entrance. But we are,
We'll be replacing them.
Right.
Yeah.
So part of the requirement, in the zoning requirements, we do have is on the trees, is if we taking out one, we're supposed to replace one, so let's make sure we try to equal that on the site if we can.
Quantify the number,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, quantify the number and then quantify what you're putting in.
Sure.
Okay? And if anything, I think it's above us, I think it's a 3-inch or 6-inch diameter.
6 inches.
Six
That's
inches.
breast height.
Right, 6-inch of breast height, so,
Mr. Chairman, that's our comment number 11, they did not address.
okay, thank you. Dennis, anything?
No,
I've got one more.
Go ahead.
Do we have like a ratio of like grass, excuse me, grass areas that we need? I know this isn't like This is in an urban setting, it's more of a, outside of an urban area. So is there a ratio of like, you'd have so many apartments, so you need to have at least this much open space for the individuals that are living in these apartments?
I don't think there's a requirement in
We
the
don't
zoning.
have,
We do not have that in our zoning
okay.
bylaw.
Go ahead.
Question about roofing materials. Is it gonna be white or black so it can reflect as much heat back out into space? And the same question regarding the asphalt. Will it be reflective, meaning rather than black asphalt, a light gray, to minimize the heat sink issues?
That is not something, we typically do black roofs. Asphalt, no, we typically just do standard asphalt.
In terms of the roofing materials, have you made a choice on white or black for your, I assume it'd be a rubber roof?
It's a rubber roof, right, rubber membrane roof. We have not made anything on the color of the roof yet.
Okay?
Yep.
At this time, I'm going to ask the general public come up, raise your hands prior. Yeah, why don't you guys sit somewhere? Get up. Let them talk. I do want to make a comment based upon, we did get several letters from many of you here at the general, from the public. One comment I want to make is that there was a comment in a couple of the letters that this is not zoned for this, or there was a change in the zoning. The zoning is, the zoning that they're going under is the general business zoning in the town, which allows them to use a mixed-use building by special permit from this board. That's in the chart, and that did not change in anything that we did on the most recent zoning for the downtown. The recent zoning for the downtown eliminated the Smoot and the central business district, but it did not eliminate general business throughout the town. It only dealt with downtown. So the general business zoning, the way that it is, and it sits on the chart, allows mixed use in this area by special permit by this board. All right, so I just want to give that as a heads up first. So whoever would like to speak first, please come up to the microphone. Please mention your name and your address where you are in town, and then you can speak.
My name is Laura Bushlow, and I live on Atkinson Ave.
Okay?
So for a mixed-use building, you only have to have 300 square feet of a business to put 30?
There's nothing in the code that says about how many feet of square feet or anything else that you need to have as far as a mixed use. It doesn't exist in the code.
That seems quite ridiculous. So the entrance to this is going right off of Atkinson Ave when you turn in from 138?
Correct.
So living there for 30 years, the traffic that's going to create and the accidents that will probably happen when someone comes flying off of 138 to take a right into there is very unfortunate.
So part of what we've asked them to do is as part of their impact report is a traffic report, so they have to put together that traffic report for us to be able to come up with how that's gonna work. And I'm not a traffic engineer, so we'll have to get that from them.
Yeah, I mean, people come flying down our streets right now and go right through the stop signs. All these people are gonna take shortcuts through Atkinson Ave and go right through those stop signs and never stop. With 30 apartments, that place, how are they gonna jam 30 apartments in that little piece of land?
Well, they're showing us an elevation of the building here. I haven't studied this because we just got this tonight. We see that they have the plan here. They do have, he obviously has an architectural layout that's putting those units in there, so that's where he's at.
You know, we live in a town, not a city, where you're supposed to be jamming things everywhere, every which way you can. That's like a city building, put right in the back of all those people's yard. If I lived right in that house at the top of the hill, I can't even imagine. Those people are gonna have all that noise, if there's gonna be units on top of that roof, listening to air conditioning, the heaters and everything else going, and looking down on that. That's a horrible place to put something. And they don't even have exact numbers to give us for
There will-
different elevations and everything else.
That's why we're requesting that. This is not gonna end tonight. They do have other information they need to come back to us with. Part of our review will be the sound and the site review that's on there. For example, right now, I know that Dana Barrows has very similar issues. We were able to, mitigate those issues with the Dana Barrows building, and I'm sure that this person could try to do similar things.
I don't know, the picture that we just looked at, where it shows the building and all this grassy land and then Dana Barrows, that's like a real estate picture where it shows all this nice grassland. There's no way, all our neighbors here, no. There's gonna be between maybe here and you, and that's gonna be Dana Barrows. It's just gonna be like a city street that you're jamming things in. It's very unfortunate, and as a homeowner for 30 years in that neighborhood, it's not something that I ever support. And we have a lot of people that's ready to sign petitions or whatever we need to do.
Yes, sir. Hi.
Adam Thornton, I live on 72 Leland Road, which is off of Atkinson Ave. It's called Sumner Gardens, so that was the original name. There's already been 3 additions onto Sumner Gardens, so I agree with Laura that the amount of traffic that we have running up and down Atkinson all the time it's nonstop, and people do not stop at the stop signs. I'm out, all the time walking my dog, and if we had a motion camera capturing the number of people that just zip through nonstop all the time, and I can appreciate, he wants to build something, and I'm all for that, but this is a residential area, and like Laura said, that's a real tiny spot, and when you go past Dana Barrows, to make that right turn and then to have both of those exits right on that street, that they're just going to come whipping around there. So I would ask you to keep that area, a residential area, not a commercial area. That's a real small patch of land.
Unfortunately, it's zoned general business. So we can't change the zoning, that's what's zoned. So if there was other businesses that wanted to come in there that would be under, by right, we would only be able to do a site plan review and not even have the rights that we have with a special permit. So it is zoned general, I can't keep it residential. Residential doesn't exist there.
Okay, so then I would be okay with a small building, but he wants to put a giant building there for mixed use, and that, again, if I lived on that spot there, but also the South School is going to be overloaded. They can't handle the influx of people that might move into that spot. Bottom line is that could hold a small pizza shop, and that's about it, or a small sub shop. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Peter Murphy, Precinct 2, Town Meeting Rep. I do not plan on talking about this tonight, but just looking at this plan as other plans, a series of questions have come up. I'll start off at the top. Is the 33 apartments is what the planned apartments are?
Correct.
And I heard it mentioned earlier about affordable housing. This town has to maintain at least 10% affordable housing. So you would have to have at least 3 units mandatory to be affordable housing.
There's not, the town right now has almost 12% of affordable housing, if I remember the last numbers that we did in the town. He's not required to have affordable housing in his building unless he's taking some sort of public money or something else along those lines, which he's not. It's all private money going into this.
And that's unfortunate because this town has to work very hard to maintain that. Now we're up to 12%, but before we were below that, so now we're,
I agree, but.
So, the other question I have is the entrance, I couldn't quite see, is that over towards the west side of that lot there?
It's the north side of the lot. It's right off of Atkinson Ave.
Okay, and that's only one entrance, one in, one out?
That's correct.
Okay. The water runoff from the pavement, during the wintertime, it's gonna contain salt and sand. And that's gonna go into the streams? Is that gonna be filtered out?
I think the engineer had spoken about that we do have basins in there for separation.
So there's deep sump footed catch basins proposed, as well as a vortechnic unit to achieve the required total suspended solids removal.
Okay. And the last question, by all means, is gonna be the solar panels on the roof. Here is a case of where we wanna try to reduce our carbon footprint. And here's a building with 33 units. You're gonna, at some point, have a lot of electrical cars want to charge up or whatever. So your roofing plan has to include some type of solar panels. At least if you don't put them in now, going forward at some point, it's gonna have that potential, so.
He did say he would look into that.
Right, but I just wanted to bring it to the forefront. That's all I got.
Right,
Thanks.
very good. Yes, sir.
Thank you. David Petersile, 235 Daily Democratic Extension, past member of this planning board, and past town meeting rep. And I guess my question is, first is, did you receive both my letters and read them entirely?
I did.
Thank you. And I did, for your knowledge, I did ask the Board of Selectmen to review the comment that you just made about the zoning bylaw. Unless you can identify for me now other mixed-use developments that have been built in town, in districts outside the center. Because my interpretation of the zoning bylaw is you read the zoning bylaw in its entirety, and you can't just rely on the table of use regulations to say a mixed-use development is allowable in zones outside of the center city.
So the center, I was one of the people that helped write with that center city. That was only to deal with the downtown. It did not take into account anything outside, and it did not deal with the general business. It dealt with the center business district. So therefore, it had nothing, what was allowed outside of that central business district before is allowed outside that central business district now.
Okay, I agree with you on what that town warrant article covered and how it was presented at the town meeting and debated and voted upon. My interpretation of the bylaw in its entirety is, where is mixed use defined in the bylaw? It's only defined in relation to the center city, previously the SMUD, now SCD. The reason why it's listed on the table use is in relation to those zones in the center city. Can you please identify for me another mixed-use development that this town is?
I'd have to research that. I don't have that information, but I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I don't know.
So for the record, please identify another mixed-use development that's been built in the town of Stoughton outside of SCD and prior SMUD in a general business, non-residential district. Because the only place mixed-use development is allowable according to table of use regulations under 810 is there to comply with the center city portion of the entire bylaw.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with you, because the general business district does not deal with just downtown. The general business district deals with around the entire town. Therefore, if it's allowed as a use in the general business district, it does not limit it to the downtown area. It does not say anywhere. What it says is by special permit from the planning board. Therefore, therefore, you brought it up.
Okay.
I will look at it, and I'll also ask the town attorney for an opinion on it, so that I'm not the only one who's stating that, so that we can get that, okay?
Perfect, and part of that town council opinion, if they can also identify other mixed-use facilities that have been
Again,
built
I'm
in
not sure the
town.
town attorney would be able to do that. I'd have to research some of those.
I'm sure our town planner can identify other mixed-use facilities. I'm sure our tax assessors know where the mixed-use facilities are located. And if there's been any built in a general business or highway business zoning district. Okay, that's what I'd like, thank you. Additionally, this body, years ago, maybe unbeknownst to the current members, Atkinson Ave extension was required as a condition of subdivision approval, definitive plan subdivision approval for Sumner Estates, specifically and only for the safety of the residents. And that's why it was built. There's been 2 prior cases within the last 24 months brought before the zoning board for special permits for the same parcel with nearly identical layout, showing a curb cut on the private way of Atkinson Ave extension, which would increase traffic flow to the detriment and safety of the residents, for which that road was built. So the site plan as it's depicted, I don't believe the planning board has the right or authority to approve that and put the safety of the residents in harm's way. The proper location, if this person wants to develop this land, their curb cut should be off of Washington Street, Route 138, and they go to Mass Highway and get a curb cut application, because they're the authority having jurisdiction for that part of the parcel.
Okay. I'll let the applicant speak to it also, but the They have rights to Atkinson Way. They're a butter to Atkinson Way, they have rights to access off of Atkinson Way. There's nothing that is any approvals that I've known, no, excuse me, that I've read or known about or that have been given to me. And if you can find something in writing, no, excuse me.
It's
no.
in my letter. The case numbers, the planning board case number and the ZBA
But
case
those-
numbers are in my letter. You
right.
said you read my letter.
Yeah, I did read your letter, but
Okay.
I did not go to the case, the cases themselves. I will, if I have to, I will go to the cases.
Okay,
That's
I-
not,
in
I'm
my
not, I'm
letter,
not I'm not trying to be argumentative, I'm trying to
I'm
accept
not
your
either.
stuff, so please.
I've quoted all the documents that reside in town hall from the subdivision approval process.
got you.
Where this body required that road be constructed. In fact, the residents did not even want it. It was very contentious.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I also included data from this town's fire department on response times and how the response times for apparatus servicing our community will be detrimentally affected by the addition of additional traffic there. Now, if this board wants to take on the liability for that, God bless you, because I think the board will be, this community behind you will be ready to sue the town unnecessarily.
Sir, I'm not looking to be controversial. We have an applicant in front of us, right? If you have some data that you want me to review, I'll look. I did not go to the zoning articles, but I will go to them, I will read them, I'll get that information sent to me.
So go to the two prior zoning board cases, which I've identified, which most of these people have been here before.
I don't want to go to that. What I want to do is, I don't want to go to the planning board regulations, where you talked about the road that specifically says that nothing can come off that road. That's a different issue.
That's one situation. I'm talking, there's multiple issues here, multiple. First of all, it sounds like to us that this is a done deal.
No, it's
based
not.
on- okay.
Unfortunately,
Well, I'm glad to
no,
hear
it's
that.
not a done deal. There's no
Well,
done
it
deals
just
out
sounded
there.
so congenial in the presentation that it just sounded to us like it's a done
Excuse me,
deal.
sir, I try to be nice to applicants, that's all. I try to be nice to you, I'm trying to be nice to everybody. I'm not trying to be
And I'm not
controversial.
trying to be argumentative
Okay.
either. However, I'm a resident of this town for 35 years, and I've serviced this town, and I expect the same level of service from our town boards. Protect the residents first. That's primary. That's why you're appointed. Okay, so please read my entire letter, if you like. If it's necessary, I can read it into the record, if you wish.
If it's up to you, I'm gonna give you the time to read it into the letter, if
I
that
don't
would,
wanna take
if
the
that is
time
what
from
you
other
like, okay.
people, But there is.
But I just want to say, again, I'm giving you the opportunity to read it into the
All right,
record if
thank
you would like,
As
okay?
long as you all can look me in the eye and say you've read this and understand the liability you'll be taking on by overturning a prior planning board decision for why the road was built for the safety of the residents by
So-
virtue of approving a site plan.
That's the one I want to read, that's the part of it I want to read, and I will
Okay.
find that decision, okay?
And go to the two zoning board special permit decisions for less than 24 months ago, where they were denied for the exact same reasons. And there's a letter on file, most recently from the town engineer, stating the same thing. It was built for the purposes of the safety of the residents up the hill.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. He says there was two cases prior to that, that I don't know. I mean, there was in his letter, it stated there's two cases prior. I have not read those two cases, so I
Right,
don't know.
I mean, I read his whole thing there.
But the two cases is a different issue.
But wouldn't the zoning board be responsible for allowing this, or?
No,
I mean,
in the zoning code, we're the special authorization for a special permit for this particular use, for a mixed-use project. It comes under the planning board purview, not under the zoning board purview.
There was, I think, an auto body shop that tried to go ahead on that property.
Right, and that would need a zoning board approval. An auto body shop needs a zoning board approval. Mixed use needs a planning board approval.
Mr. Peter Silver,
Case numbers if you want. Would you like the case numbers for your records?
sure.
Okay.
Mr. Peterson referred to Atkinson Ave Extension as a private way. Is it a private way or is it a town-owned way?
It's a private way.
It is a private way.
Right.
So the town doesn't maintain it. If there's a pothole or there's a problem with it, the residents have to take care of that.
No, it's a private way. No one takes care of it. Okay?
Well, if there's a problem with the road and it's private, then the residents have to take it upon themselves. I ran into the same problem before my road was accepted.
All right, I don't know who takes care of it, okay, but that's irrelevant. It's a private way, okay? The town has no authority. You have to have the jurisdictional authority to be able to grant a curb cut. The Board of Selectmen has that authority, because I believe
They're the road commissioners.
They're the road commissioners. This is not a public way, so the Board of Selectmen cannot grant a curb cut. The proper curb cut for that parcel is Route 138 Washington Street, which is available to the landowner. That's their public way. That should be their entrance. They can get that curb cut from MassDOT. Okay, so the prior cases. Go ahead.
I don't believe the applicant owns to the right-of-way at Washington Street. I think that strip adjacent to Washington Street is owned by a different owner.
It is, so sorry, he doesn't have frontage on 138.
No.
Well, then he's landlocked. You know, caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. Like I said, this is the third proponent in less than 24 months that's come to the town with a similar scheme. And why this board is willing to entertain it when the zoning board threw it out on its ear for the same safety reasons is beyond me. And those are the cases I'll be willing to give you. So the ZBA, I can't read, sorry. Glasses. Age-related, okay. ZBA.
Get the same, we all have the same issue.
We all have the same issue, I know. All right, okay, ZBA case number 2029, that's the April 11th, 1991 decision based on the planning board's subdivision approval, definitive subdivision approval condition that the road be built for safety. They had to, back then, DiMatteo, Ectech Development, had to go to the zoning board to get a special permit to fill the lands to build the permit, because it was a tremendous amount of fill. Just like this project's probably gonna be built up on 7 or 10 feet of fill, which, you know, I can't, you know, you're talking about the people seeing the rooftops. Just bring in 10 feet of fill and see what happens. Where's the retaining wall? It's gonna retain that level of earth. I haven't seen any architectural engineering drawings, have you?
I've seen the grading plan, and the building is built into the slope, so the back wall's sort of a retaining wall, and the front half kind of comes out and meets grade.
Okay, all right, so the ZBA case is the one that allowed the fill, which was necessitated by this board's request to build the road, okay? Then there's ZBA case 4253, that was the auto body shop, I think someone referred to, okay? That was also had findings of fact that the Atkinson Ave extension access that they also proposed was nixed. Then another case, 4267, the ZBA case 4267, Hearst Landscaping and Siting Services, same thing. It was literally the exact same plan. The ZBA said no. Safety, 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 safety. Residents' safety is paramount. That's what the board's responsibilities are in upholding the zoning board and upholding the bylaw is to protect the residents' safety. So if you want to investigate those 3 cases and also look back into the planning board subdivision approval, I'm sure you'll find what I'm speaking about.
Yeah, I said the planning subdivision approval is what I'm looking for, is what I'd really like to see, so.
Okay, it's
All right.
it's a recorded document,
Yep.
so it's valid.
Let's hear the public first, and then let's get that, and we'll deal with it, okay?
Leanne Kerman, Atkinson Avenue. I live in the extension, in the cul-de-sac at the end.
Mm-hmm.
We moved in, the extension wasn't open. So for the first few years, Atkinson Avenue was a drag race. People would run up, drive up, come into our cul-de-sac, go over the hill, whee! Lots of people lost the bottom of their cars, we get them towed. Finally, we got stop signs, so now those people, a lot of us do stop, but there are a lot that don't. So they kind of cruise through, get to our cul-de-sac. We had trees put in, so now the trees slow them down. So then they take a U-turn in our cul-de-sac, go back out, kind of like in a rats thing where they're kind of going around the neighborhood trying to figure out how to get in and out.
It is. I've tried to go from 138 to Sumner Street, and I've got lost
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I do a really good job of giving directions when I'm out there. Then we put in the development Mears Lane, I don't know what that's called. Now, we have all of that traffic coming into our neighborhood. So we have, in addition to what the residents, now we have that whole development that's brought all of that traffic in, so that comes up. I invite all of you, I don't know what your plans are for Saturday or Sunday, please go hang out down at the bottom of Atkinson Avenue Extension and see what the traffic's like. Your residents are gonna get really frustrated because A, they're gonna try and come out there, and they're either gonna get hit because people are coming down 138, racing in there. I can't tell you the cars that come along 138, pull in there, I don't know if they're on their phones, what they are, that have almost gotten hit. I've almost hit them because they pull in and stop. It's pretty much where your curb cut's gonna be. But it's great Dana Barros is there, that building's not sitting empty. I'm not for empty buildings in this town. God knows we have enough of them. We have that hole in the ground in the center. But you're gonna sit and try and do this. We've got all the people from Dana Barros. I think everyone here that's in my neighborhood can attribute. Trying to get out of there and take a left to go to Easton, God forbid you wanna go to Roach Brothers on Saturday. You're gonna have to take a right and then turn around because there's so much traffic. Now you're gonna have these people trying to get in and out. I just, and again, that extension, how long, Dan, was that extension closed when we moved in there because it was a whole issue? I mean.
It was not, we didn't want it, no one wanted it.
Right. You know, we were the last.
We forced it upon the community at that time for safety purposes.
Exactly. We were the last, our cul-de-sac was the last houses to be built. That extension was, what, 2 years? 2 or 3 years after we moved in before it was even open. And I just, with all due respect to you, you need to think about what you're doing because your residents are gonna end up in accidents trying to get in and out. It's such a bottleneck already. Trying to get in and out of there, it's insane. And I'm sorry, but your renderings are not attractive. I mean, if you're gonna put something in, at least make it look a little nicer. And I just feel like there's so many questions you don't have answers for right now. And we've all worked really hard. We've lived there, we take care of our property, we are happy to live there, but it is getting a little exhausting with all these, you know, we keep expanding and we're not thinking about what we're doing here. And I'm concerned of the safety of people coming in and out of there and all these young families that have their kids playing basketball. There's carfuls of families. It's chaotic there on the weekends. It really is. And even on the weeknights when they're practicing at night or they have games, there's so much traffic in that area. And you're gonna add 30 more units plus a business of some sort. I don't know. It just doesn't seem really, it just is not reasonable to me.
Hi, Dan Bushlow. I live at 277 Atkinson Ave. I'm a town meeting rep. I've lived in the neighborhood for 30 years. I'm a lifelong resident of Stoughton. I just want to get a better understanding. So this is a business zoned area.
General
correct?
business zone.
General
Yeah.
business. So to get around, to add residential houses or apartments to this area, you have to have a mixed use.
Per the zoning code, and they have to come before a special permit for us.
So
yes.
in order for them to do this, they're creating the smallest possible business where they even say, well, let's give it away to someone, just to get around the zoning, which is just ridiculous. And I just hope this board sees what they're trying to do here. This is not meant for our neighborhood, and I implore you to decline this development. Thank you.
My name is Andrei Ivanov. I'm from 159 Lucas Drive, which is right behind this property, right behind the fence. First, I just want to describe my personal vision. Can you imagine what I'm gonna feel to see the building through my windows and hear all the noise which gonna be behind the fence? Another thing with the traffic, I absolutely agree. And it's first of all these cars which gonna go in and out, and during the construction, how you see all these trucks, excavators, all these deliveries, materials, how they gonna get in and out through this Atkinson. It's gonna be huge building, right? It's gonna be huge construction. And during the winter, it's gonna be terrible. And after that, how all these people who gonna live there, where is they gonna spend time? I don't see any playground, any space down there, like any, rest area. Where are they gonna go? Oh, to our neighborhood, right? And my apartment, my building, my property is the first one. And all the dogs, all the kids, they're gonna go to our neighborhood, right?
I don't know, sir.
That's what I see on the plan, only building and the parking lot. I don't see any rest area, anything like that. And another problem with the school system, which is really not ready for this kind of building also. That's all I see. It's not like it should be here.
Okay. Anybody else that would like to comment at this time? Go ahead.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm Kim Gata Jordan. I live at 120 Erica Drive. I grew up on 115 Erica Drive, so I've been in that neighborhood for 33 years. I've seen the expansions kind of happen over time, like everyone has been saying. I've seen people fly up and down Atkinson. I now have 2 young children. We bought our home in that neighborhood to have somewhere for our kids to play. I think adding 33 units with parking plus the Dana Barrow Center, you're just bringing in that much more foot traffic. It's not just Saturday night that you have to worry about getting out on 138. It's every night at 5:30 or 6 o'clock. It's in the morning when I'm walking the dog and the 2 kids. They're out there, it's flying. To add more to that neighborhood it's absurd. I mean, there's just no place for it. And like he was just saying, the other gentleman was just saying, where do those kids play? They're gonna come into the neighborhood, come beyond that area, and we're on that side of Lucas Drive on Erica, and that would be our backyard. That's not, that further adding to that area, it's just not a great location for it. It's an eyesore. It's not gonna make the area look or be as appealing of a neighborhood to buy into.
How you doing? Patrick Jordan, Stoughton resident, obviously 120 Erica Drive. Just curious on, does it matter what business goes into that, or can that be anything like they said? Into, say, in the building, the 345 square foot
Space?
area. Yeah, space.
Whatever business he would like to rent that to, that's up to him.
So it could be anything like a liquor store, cannabis, anything like that?
No, cannabis can't be in that side of town. Liquor store would have to be by a special permit.
But no issue getting that permit, correct?
I don't know. That goes before the Board of Selectmen. That doesn't come before us.
But like the gentleman before us and previous people have said, the traffic, everybody cuts through. If you gotta get to Sumner, get to Brockton, you're not going up 138. Everyone's cutting through Atkinson. Everyone here has done it before. It's just what you do. It's the fastest way. You're not gonna go down to Gay Street and, take your time. That's where you're going. With the increased, the neighborhood just flipped around again. There was no kids for a while. She grew up there, bunch of kids, kind of had a lull, and now there's, young families like ourselves that are living there. You love to see the kids out there, and you want to just make sure they're safe. And, I plan on having my kids running around that neighborhood causing a ruckus and everything like that. So that's obviously one of the main issues everyone has with, obviously, the eyesore you're going to see, who, like you said, 8-foot tall fence to block that dumpster area. That's the first thing you're going to see when you pull up, when you turn into the...
Why we suggested something different. But.
Yes, either way, everyone knows what's behind there. Everyone's going to, smell it going by in your cars. And especially with, I saw you guys had a plan to put walkways on the other side of Atkinson Ave Extension. So, if you have this building here, people trying to come in, come out each different way. So it's obviously more traffic, like they said, not even on a Saturday or a Sunday, just people trying to get to work in the morning. It's a struggle to turn left coming out of Atkinson Ave Extension. We've all done it. We know it sucks. It's difficult, and you got to be aggressive, and maybe you're aggressive at the wrong time. There's going to be accidents. There's going to be more, foot traffic coming up the neighborhood, like the gentleman behind me said. Where are these people going to hang out? Where are they going to play? Where are they going to have recreation? They're going to come up into our neighborhoods that are already, packed with the people that have earned those homes. They bought those homes for that neighborhood. This neighborhood is sought out. We sought out this neighborhood. Everybody here that is new to this neighborhood sought out this neighborhood because they know how important it is to raise a family in a neighborhood like this. That's why we're here. We're trying to do that, have a safe environment for our children. And what else?
Take away from that.
Yes, and that would just, that's just more clutter, more unsafety. Being a first responder myself, I've seen these buildings go up and the traffic it causes and, the amount of calls that come with these buildings and the medicals, I've seen it all. And I think, like everyone else has said, this isn't the place to do it. Gentleman behind me, safety, that's what we're here for. That's why that road was built, was to protect the residents up in those neighborhoods, and it's worked out so far. Everyone's protected up there. That's why everyone's still there. 35 years, I think another 30 plus years. They're not leaving for a reason. If they didn't feel safe, if they didn't feel comfortable, they wouldn't be there anymore. So that's all we have to say. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak? Come on up.
Hi.
Hi.
Melissa McDermott. I'm at 5 Laura Lane. I'm on the
Speak your
corner.
name again. I wouldn't get it.
Sorry, Melissa McDermott. I'm on the corner of Laura Lane and Atkinson, and I pretty much echo everything that's already been spoken by everyone behind me. But I just wanted to reiterate two very great concerns that I have. I have 2 young children, 7 and 9. And as it is right now, they can't ride their bikes on our street because people come flying around the corner all the time. We have to stand out there with them. They should be able to ride their bikes in safety. So just, again, adding this many units, they're all gonna cut through the neighborhood like everybody already does. So it's just a great safety concern, like everybody already said, no one stops at the stop signs. The other concern is the South School is overloaded. So of these 30 units, I mean, even if half of them have children, the school is out of space. The kids have art in the gym, they have music in the library, I think. There's no more space at the school, so it's just, I know that's a whole separate, with the South School building project, but those are just my concerns I wanted to add.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, hi. My name is Keith Lamont. I'm at 189 Lucas Drive. And I'm basically just reiterating what everyone said. We've been there 20 years. And our daughter's grown up there and gone to college. But I see a lot of parents with small kids. And I think one of our main concerns is the access to that building is up Atkinson.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told from the previous 2 companies that wanted to move in, you cannot come in from 138 because of the wetland.
Right, I don't think that he owns actually on from 138, so
Oh, okay.
that's not even an option. I don't think he owns that
Okay,
piece.
so so just to not beat a dead horse, but main issue is traffic. We all have wells. How does it affect our well water? Property values, how does it affect our property values? And the school system was mentioned, and I think the height of the building is going to be an issue. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, does anybody else want to speak? I mean, you've had your shot, so I'll be able to come up again. Anybody else looking to speak? Come on up. Oh, come on. Yes, you can speak.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. My name is Shailene Soares. I live at 149 Lucas Drive, which is, if you looked at this map here, is on the upper right-hand side.
Okay.
So I'm actually across the street from Andrea that you just spoke. This one here?
Yeah.
Sure. Sorry. Okay. So my driveway is actually on Atkinson Ave Extension. Am I making that noise? Use the yellow. Okay, sorry. That was Is that better?
You're on. I can hear you. Thank you.
So my driveway is actually on Atkinson Ave Extension.
So you come right out onto Atkinson Ave?
I come right out onto Atkinson Ave Extension. So the proposed driveway is kind of like right here in the middle.
Correct.
Mine is, it's
Up.
perpendicular, right? just right,
Up further up the street.
just up further, closer to the stop sign. I already have such a difficult time getting out of that driveway with the stop signs there and with the traffic coming up to 138. That both sides, I have to stop every time and just wait for the traffic to go. I'm really concerned, my main concern is the curb cut on Atkinson Ave extension. It's just, I really am concerned about it in the wintertime, especially. We have cars getting stuck all the time on that incline, mainly because I think they don't give enough momentum coming up the hill. And my son, when he was a teenager, used to take bets on how many cars would get stuck, and he would have his shovel and go and shovel people out all day long.
Good way to
And
make money.
I don't know if any of you have gotten stuck, and Michael has actually shoveled you out, but that's Michael, and he just would have fun shoveling people out all day long. But I am concerned with the traffic coming out of the only one exit and entrance, of cars having to stop, losing that momentum, and then sliding back down the hill. That's exactly what happens. And I'm a little further up, but I still lose momentum, and if I have to stop for any reason, usually because somebody's coming through the stop sign, I can't get into my driveway. I have to go back down the hill, turn back up, and gain momentum again and get back in. And I think that's gonna be a real problem with the road being so slippery, especially in the winter time.
Does the town plow that road?
The town will plow a private road, but any other maintenance they don't do.
Yeah, we did the catch basins, yes, I did them.
Oh, I'm surprised.
Nobody stopped me.
I think you have to
So,
plow the
can
road
I
to get to
just
the
ask a
roads.
question from, you guys are in that neighborhood. Does everybody use that road as a two-way road? So, you're going out and coming in all the time, or is it that you go other ways? The reason I'm asking is I was wondering, would it be a better setup if that road was basically a one-way road, basically going down to the 138, and then not have it so that nobody's coming in? But see, the whole thing is everybody's made statements that, we didn't want the road there. Well, if we didn't want it, then now if you don't want it, why don't we just make it a one-way? Would it make it easier on you?
Why not?
I
Why
think
not-
that would make things complicated.
Why not put a fire gate right up at the top of Lucas and Atkinson? Block it up, make it a private neighborhood, shut off Atkinson Road.
If that's what it's there for, as a safety, would be, normally, like, if you did that, like a lot of neighborhoods, they have actually fire gates, because that's only for service vehicles to get up and get out. You'd put a gate there, and then the fire trucks, whatever, would have access to
Would
get
make
in.
it a private neighbor, I know that neighborhood, I grew up, my kids went to South School. And to me, if I was in that neighborhood, my opinion would be, put a fire gate there. So what if you're in that neighborhood, I'd be willing to maybe deter around, just because it would make it a private neighborhood.
The only thing, that's a good concept. The only thing is the recent report from the fire department regarding response times. 138 is the better route for best response time to our neighborhood.
However, the new fire station will
Yeah,
probably give you better response
No,
time.
it took into consideration Park Street.
I-
The report took into consideration.
I see a solution here, and to me, that's probably the best solution, if it's permissible, to satisfy the neighborhood. Then the other issue about the curb cut into Atkinson, I have an issue with that too, because I did read your letter, and to me, it's like, that definitely has to be an explanation as to whether that can be done or not.
Yeah, but those fire gates aren't always 100% working. They're, like, as a firefighter, sometimes it is a struggle trying to get trucks in through those if they don't go up all the
Well,
way.
my take is that with the new fire station, they probably won't be relying on that one that much, they'll be coming up the other
So
way.
why have one instead of two? So you're saying we put one at the top of Atkinson and probably put one right before Leland?
I wouldn't put anything in it, I just shut Atkinson, that private road off from your neighborhood, period. Done deal.
Like, what effect would that have? People still,
Well, because you won't have the through traffic which has been
Nobody would be
major
cutting
issues.
through Atkinson, you wouldn't have to worry about all the stop signs that you have along, coming up the road.
They won't be able to come through if
They
there's a
won't
gate.
be able to cut through to 138, period, done.
It'll be a gate there that won't be able to stop them from coming through. That's
If
what
I
you're
was in
saying.
your neighborhood, and I said, my kids I've lived on in this district, in that area, and my kids had friends that lived up in that area. To me, it was the most dangerous thing that I've ever seen. And
So then
to me,
let's
I would
add
vote.
30 more units.
No, I would vote for putting
Because
a,
it's already dangerous, so let's go ahead and
I say
add.
put a fire gate up, then you don't have to worry about what goes down on in a business.
How about if we just say no?
Well, no.
How about that for a solution?
So-
Just an idea.
Well, I agree. No, I agree. I agree with you. The curb cut
If you're gonna
issue-
speak, sir, please come up with your name. Sir, I'm just, I don't want that yelling out in this. I won't have it. You wanna speak, you come up here, give everybody an opportunity to speak. Please do not do that. I'm asking that.
I understand.
Let her finish, and then you can come up and speak, okay?
So a lot of the concerns, my main concern was just the curb cut. I don't know much about the fire access gate that you're talking about. I'll have to read a little bit more about that. I'm not sure, I think it might affect the rest of the neighborhood in a positive way if they wanted that one way to come in and out of the neighborhood. It might not work for myself and my neighbors here because it sounds like we would kind of be stuck on the side with our driveways. We would be stuck on the side with the apartment.
No, we could put it, the gate could come before your driveway. I understand your concern, so the gate would come before your driveway, and then you would have access going out Atkinson Drive the other direction, but you wouldn't, you still wouldn't be able to get to 138 either.
Okay, so we have to,
That would be where.
I understand that. I usually go through out the other way anyway, so.
No, it's just, it's a thought. I'm just trying to create something that because everybody's talking about it being a safety and only for the safety, and it was only built for that, and that nobody really wanted it. Well, I'm like, well, let's go backwards to that, keep it as a safety, and put a gate there. Whether this project gets built or any other project, if that's what you're looking for, and if the concern is safety of kids and people driving through the neighborhood, then create that so that it happens. Okay? That's all, I'm just asking a question, that's all.
Thank you for bringing that up, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I have a better understanding of it now. The other thing I was concerned about is, I was reading that it was a 3-level building, right? Is that true? And it looks like it's really a 4-level with the parking garage? With the garage, okay. And I can appreciate the architecture. I'm not opposed to a new building, and I can appreciate, it looks like a nice, well-thought-out building, so I can appreciate the architecture behind it. However, I am opposed to having it being the first thing I see when I look out my bedroom window. So it's, and I know you can understand that from like a homeowner's perspective, right? And I have the property that's right there, and is Lou too loud now? I'm sorry. Oh, okay, sorry. Is that better?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
So it is a little concerning to me as far as property value and, resale of the home. It is a neighborhood that's all one-family units, and I do think that having such a large 33-unit building would deter buyers from coming in and saying, this is, a family neighborhood. I was reading a little bit about the plan. I know there's going to be a lot of one-bedroom units.
Yes.
So I wasn't as concerned about these schools, and I think it was 9 units that were 2 bedrooms. Was that correct? So the schools are overwhelmed. Right now, the South School is busting at the seams. After looking at that, I see that it probably won't be that many children coming from this one specific building. Which leaves my main concern, like many people here, is just the curb cut and the traffic, particularly in the winter, and getting in and out of our driveways, and the kids being outside, and the traffic, certainly all that traffic, turning right, cutting through the neighborhood. That lies my main concern, and the secondary concern being the value of our home, kind of looking out the window and seeing the large building there, and the light pollution as well, because we have light pollution in our bedroom window already from Denny Barrows, and adding more to that is just something that I would find unpleasant.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure nobody else, you've spoken. Give me a second. Yeah, just 1 second. Anybody else that hasn't spoken yet want to speak? Okay, go ahead.
Just a quick question for you guys. Any slope or elevation going to be involved with the entrance Like, is there gonna be any slope down to get into your complex at all? Any idea on that?
Very slight slope.
Just to go down, okay. So I'm just thinking, coming up, they're gonna need some horsepower to get to the top of that.
Mhm.
So I'm just thinking, traffic-wise, just wanted to make that known. Thank you.
You want to speak again?
Unless anyone else. Okay, just a couple, just to follow up on a couple of things that were brought up, because there was a lot of good discussion today. The fire gate idea, they haven't done a traffic analysis for the impact statement anyway, so they should maybe include that as part of a alternative, traffic alternative.
Right.
But have the fire department and police department, emergency response facilitators
Obviously,
weigh in
that
on-
would have
weigh
to-
in
they
on
would have
that,
to weigh in. Yeah, sure.
obviously, yeah, because, okay, that's one topic. The other topic, someone mentioned about how the Corvo doesn't own the sliver of land abutting Washington Street.
I actually have to stand corrected on that. They do own that.
That's right, okay.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
So,
Actually, it's not Corvo, it would be Andrew Eunice Brothers who owns the property. My understanding is Corvo would have entered a purchase and sale agreement with the property owner, which would be consummated pending their ability to get permit.
that's a very common thing coming before us.
Right. So if they wanted to use that for access to the public way, they certainly could. And they would just have to go to Conservation Commission with an NOI for the Wetlands Protection Act to get a wetlands crossing. So if they did that, it eliminates everyone's concern about Atkinson Ave and all the additional vehicular traffic.
Well, and it appeared to me there was a concern outside of this project with Atkinson Ave anyway, and that's part of the reason we suggested the fire gate, or suggesting it being a one-way.
Right.
And I'm not sure what the process is, because you are a private road, I don't know what that process would be with the town to do that, but it's just a suggestion that may work. It appeared that many people didn't want it anyway, so if we eliminate it, then it doesn't make any difference, you know?
It sounds to me now that we all know that they do own frontage on public way, that's probably their best bet, is to create a curb cut there, if they truly want to develop this. Now, separately, I still of the opinion that, 380 square feet of commercial space compared to 15,000 square feet of residential is not even such a veiled attempt at stepping over the intent of the zoning bylaw, if you're correct and I'm incorrect, relevant to a mixed-use development being allowed in a GB district outside of the center.
Okay. Anybody else like to speak? Anything else from the board members?
I just wanted to say that whether this project goes forward or not, it sounds to me like you should have the safety officer in town, Sergeant O'Connor, look into the I had no idea there's this kind of traffic that you people are talking about going through there and, as a cut through. Have that looked into and see what your options are, whether anything happens here or not, because it sounds like there's an issue there to begin with, whether any more buildings are built.
And have the fire department chief or assistant chief make them, weigh in on this project. I mean, all the town departments are supposed to weigh in on it with written comments even before it was supposed to go to public meeting.
So they have all commented on it. We have health department comments and stuff.
I asked for copies of all the comments, I didn't receive that.
We have that.
If as a public records request, if I can get that, I appreciate it, thank you.
I know I did see the health department. I saw something else was on there too. I thought the police was in there. Is that correct, Bill?
Inadvertently didn't get attached, but I can email that to you.
All the departments.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, of course, once the impact study is submitted, the public should be given an opportunity to review that also.
They will be. We have done that all the time. Gentlemen? I'm gonna make an assumption that you're gonna ask for a continuance.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say, obviously I heard the comments, but it seemed like a lot of these comments were already established back at home before looking at the plan. Does anyone have any specific questions on the plan for us, or how we came up with it, or thoughts or anything, or just comments were?
How are you providing water to that? Is that gonna be off the well?
Could you say that one more time?
How are you providing water for the property?
There's actually a water easement right in the middle of it. There's a water line.
Well, because all the houses out there are all well water. So
Yeah.
you're not gonna
No, there's a water line, that dash line on the bottom, yeah, on the bottom, south we're talking, that's a water line, easement. We're gonna tap right into that, so we're not even gonna touch the groundwater. Any other comments on it?
Yes, earlier you mentioned there were 3 dedicated parking spaces for the commercial space, but is this a new set of plans? Because the plan set I was provided showed 1 space.
That was my question as well. I
What's
saw
that?
they said one space for the,
For the
business.
commercial space, it's
Commercial
all
space?
one part.
That's what's required, yeah.
One, so it said one, on the plans it
One
usually.
for the, commercial, yes.
So is that just for the employee?
I don't know, I didn't make the bylaws, again, I understand the issues, I'm following the rules, this, and that, so, anything else I can answer anyone's questions, or? And it was a well-thought-out plan, I'm sure you've seen my black Ram sitting in your street for the last 3 months, I've been spending a lot of time there, I've been looking at the traffic patterns. I knew that there was a commercial, project proposed here prior, that's why I didn't go near commercial, because I figured it would be a burden on the neighborhood being commercial. This is residential, it's a very low-impact traffic use. I know it sounds like a lot. We've had tons of studies done on different sites. Residential is always the least impactful on the neighborhood. There's no noise, they're living a life just like you folks would be living in your own homes.
So if you knew of the prior cases, why does your plan set annotate that you investigated prior ZBA cases and found no cases relative to this property?
I didn't say that, this isn't a ZBA.
It's on your plan set. It's a note on your plan set.
I didn't draft the plan set. Eric drafted the plan set. I'm confused the relevance of, that though. What would the relevance be of a zoning,
You would have prior knowledge of why the 2 prior projects with the exact same footprint were denied.
They were not, the exact same footprint, they were actually
The
smaller
same-
footprints. I have.
Same access way off Atkinson Ave, both projects were denied due to safety reasons for having a curb, posing a curb up at Atkinson Ave. And your plan set endures those prior zoning board decisions, and you say you did the due diligence.
I did. So what's the question?
Then you lied on your plan set, apparently.
About what?
How can you say you did due diligence and you didn't know prior cases? Then why doesn't it say that?
Mr. Chairman, is this proper protocol for a public hearing?
Sir, I just, stop. Only reason, because he turned around and asked the public. It's not per protocol, but he did turn around and ask for the public. So, so you know something? Let's stop for a minute. I'm not gonna get into an argument here. Okay, look, he did turn around and ask, but let's let him ask and answer. Just wait a minute. Stop.
So we did research it, but I'm confused as the relevance of this plan. This is a complete different process. This is a planning board process.
It's
That was
the
a
same as
ZBA.
special permit process.
It's not.
I don't care what
Okay,
board you
okay,
vote
stop.
for in this town.
Stop.
It's one town, and it's one zoning bylaw, regardless of which authority having jurisdiction has the special permit granting authority. It's one bylaw. All cases under one bylaw.
It's a different process. I don't know how to tell you that, but it is. It's a different process.
Sir, you're mistaken.
I have another point I want to make. We did do the research on the road. The road is maintained by the town, correct? It's plowed, it's maintained. They actually maintain the sewage pumps and all that. So I would say that if it, let's assume that, I would own to the center of the road, just like this lady has a curb cut on the same Atkinson Road, right? So that parcel is on the road. Wouldn't that parcel have the same rights to that road as every other person on it?
Or is the center of the road with 50 cars?
That's all private roads handle.
All right, again, we'll find out who has the authority to issue a curb cut on a private way. It's not Board of Selectmen in this town, apparently. Find out. We're gonna ask.
I'm gonna, okay, so I'm gonna bring that up. I'll get a conference with the town attorney. I'll get a conference with the, excuse me. Sir, I said we would get the access. Let's stop. Okay, I'm done. I don't wanna hear the back and forth. I allowed him to talk. He wanted to hear from the public, but I didn't wanna get into an argument or that type of stuff with it, end it, okay? Right now, we'll just deal with it. If you guys would like to ask for a continuance, that's up to you, but you let me know we want to ask for continuance now, and we'll find a date in the future that you can do that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think we'd like to request a continuance to the next available meeting.
What do we have?
The agenda on the 27th, well, to get, to get on the agenda the 27th, everyone had to submit plans today. So the agenda for the meeting of May 11th is getting quite full, unfortunately. I would try to shy away from putting anything on that. My recommendation would be the agenda for the 25th, or it's going to be a very long night on the 11th, Mr. Chairman.
Are you amenable to the 25th of May? Okay, we'll accept your request for a continuance to the 25th of May at 7 o'clock when we have that meeting. Where it's going to be, I don't know at this present time.
That will be at
Town hall?
Town
Oh,
hall.
back to the town hall? Okay, so we'll be
Yes.
back to the town hall at that point in time. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you all. Thank you. Have a great night.
You too. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a new public hearing. The Stoughton Redevelopment Authority Urban Renewal Plan. A public hearing will be held for the Stoughton Redevelopment Authority to present the final draft of the urban renewal plan to the planning board for review to ensure the urban renewal plan conforms with the town of Stoughton master plan. I talked to him, well, did you read Pam's letters? Pam did a review for the economic master plan that she sent out an email. Very good. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Reginald Nunnally. I am the treasurer for the Stoughton Redevelopment Authority, and I live at 33 Hillside Ave in Stoughton. I've been a resident there for the past 21 years, and what we're hoping to be able to discuss this evening is a plan for the redevelopment of the downtown district in Stoughton. I know that you have received digital copies of this plan. And I know sometimes it can be difficult to look through the computer and see these digital plans. So I actually bought hard copies for each of you, not to read tonight, but to read at your leisure, because it is approximately 92 pages.
They actually have hard copies of it.
They do? Yeah. Very good.
I'll take an extra one for the file.
What we also did here was put together a time frame that is a little shorter. It's only a couple of pages. That gives you sort of a timeline of what we think are some of the priorities in terms of how we go along on this what we are planning as a 20-year plan. And we've broken it out into sort of segments of 0 to 5, 0 to 10, and then 10 to 20 years. And again, it's a guideline. So we're not presenting this evening any specific projects. What we are hoping is to get you to confirm that this plan meets the guidelines within the Stoughton Master Plan. We started this process back in 2020, and we came to the planning board to give you an indication of what we were attempting to move forward, and asked your permission if you thought it was a good idea for us to move forward with it. And before anything was approved, to come back to this board and get some additional comments. Unfortunately, the pandemic struck, but we did come back a second time and provide you with an update. We're here today with what we think is a final version of the plan for the redevelopment of downtown Stoughton. We've taken into consideration, the overall master plan in terms of the greenery, retail, housing, and aesthetically pleasing look as folks go through the downtown area. If I could just give you, in some of these statistics you are more than aware of, probably more aware than I am. But you know that there's approximately 30,000 residents that live in the town of Stoughton. Approximately 19,000 of those residents are registered voters, and in any off year, we get approximately 4 to 5%, somewhere around there, people that actually come out. And I think we all will agree that that's not a high percentage in terms of people trying to participate in local government, particularly
Like
this type of.
1,200 people.
Pardon me?
It's like 1,200 people.
Right, exactly. This next statistic that I want to talk about is that we have approximately 20,000 cars that go through the center of Stoughton every day. If we could get 3% of those cars to stop and do commerce in Stoughton, Stoughton would be a booming downtown location. We're considered the gateway into Boston. Heading north into Boston, we are the only retail node until you get to Mattapan Square, which is approximately 10, 12, 15 miles from Stoughton Center. We're hoping this evening that you can confirm that the plan that we have or we're bringing forward fits within the confines of the master plan. We did receive some comments from the town in terms of the plan is approximately 10 years old and it needs to be updated. And you're probably absolutely correct, it probably does need to be updated. But we were working with what we had and we were moving forward, and we want to let folks know that yes, some of these projects that are being mentioned are being worked on right now, and that's what we're hoping for, is that whatever we're talking about is actually being worked on because the redevelopment authority is not looking to do every single project. We are looking to be enablers. We're looking for private development to come through to assist with the redevelopment. We are not asking for town dollars. We feel as if we can all come together as a planning board, as a select board, and as the redevelopment authority to be all on the same page, that we will be able to attract outside funds, both from the public side as well as the private side. Over the past year or so, we have met with a number of developers and continue to meet with developers to get an understanding of what type of interest there might be. And to our surprise, they say that there are opportunities here in Stoughton. Their problems, as they indicated, was problems with the zoning. Now that the zoning is approved as of the end of last year, there's even more interest in folks wanting to come to Stoughton to do business. We looked at both the retail as well as the housing. We held off until the zoning process that went through the board, planning board, and the select board, and we tailored the plan, made the adjustments so that it fit with the new zoning. We've had a number of meetings, as I said, with the developers, with the property owners. We have not met with the business owners because we did not want to create any sort of chaos in terms of we're going to have to move. The urban renewal plan, if approved, and it goes forward by the Department of Housing and Community Development from the state, it requires that if a business is or needs to be relocated, it is the responsibility of the redevelopment authority and the developers to find folks a suitable place to move to, and if they want to move back and they're able to do that, to assist in that manner as well. So what we're hoping for is, in terms of the process, and believe me, we are really pleased that you made this a public hearing, because we want the public to be as informed as possible. We've requested that the select board also have a public hearing, which is also required by Department of Housing and Community Development, and we welcome that because we really and truly want everyone to be involved in this process. We've hired BSC, my partner here, Jeff Fazer, who is very familiar and successful in developing plans. Most recently, they developed a plan that was approved in the Randolph area. And we're hoping that we'll be able to move right behind them in terms of getting something approved. One other thing before I turn it over, and of course you can ask any questions of me, but before I turn it over to the consultant, is that we're a little behind the curve at this point. Recently, the governor passed out, I guess that's the best way I can describe it, $3 billion in earmarks throughout the entire Massachusetts communities. The lowest was $100,000, and the most, I think, was $25 million. And these essentially were grants to help with economic development. Unfortunately, Stoughton received $0. There's a new earmark that will come out, probably won't be $3 billion, but there will be significant dollars that will be coming down the road. And we feel is if all three of the entities that are responsible for the development in Stoughton can all be on the same page so that we can actually apply for those funds and identify as a group, not an individual entity, but as a group, what types of projects we would like to move forward and how they can move forward. So with that, I'll take any questions, but if there's none, I'd like to turn it over to Jeff Fazer, who is our consultant from BSC.
So the question I have is, because you're telling me something I don't know about, but this money that was supposedly we missed out on, why?
Well, essentially you have to ask for it. Okay. And you have to have...
Who was responsible to ask for it?
The town has to ask for it.
The town board of selectmen, the planning board, the SRA, who has to ask for it?
Well, I say the town, but I would imagine, we're talking about the town management. They're the ones that actually have sort of their ear to the ground and what types of projects they would like to move forward that need to be approved by both.
So they had to be shovel-ready projects to go
close to shovel-ready, but at least being able to identify something that they'd want to do. We've been in contact with the state representatives, Senator Timilty and Representative Phillips, and they've agreed that the next set of earmarks that come out, we need to be prepared to be able to identify what it is that we would like to move forward so that they can assist with trying to attract those dollars to come to the Stoughton area.
When do you expect the next earmarks to be distributed?
Well, they're in the process right now of developing the budget, so they'll be going through a number of a series of things. I would suspect that it'll be this time next year when the earmarks will actually come out. Now, these earmarks, this $3 billion that came out, was actually dollars from the ARPA dollars and some of the surplus monies that was in the state budget. It was specifically tailored to economic development types of initiatives that help with brick and mortar, technical assistance to some of the small businesses, and the development of underutilized buildings. In a previous life, I've been asked to develop a program in the Boston area, and I wrote a proposal that was actually funded for $250,000 to provide technical assistance to small businesses. What I did do, because Stoughton wasn't in the queue, was to write it in such a way that some of the small businesses in the Stoughton, Randolph, Revere areas would be able to participate in sort of a technical assistance type of a program. And when I'm talking about technical assistance, I'm talking about if, and I'll use you just as an example, if a small business needed to access some capital from one of our local banks, and everyone knows in order to access capital, you've got to have your taxes done. If they were in a position where they didn't have them done or couldn't afford to have them done, this type of a program could grant them those dollars to get their taxes done. And it's a pay-to-play type of a program. They go through an assessment whereby an action plan is developed. If they agree to the action plan, then the technical assistance provider is provided the funds, and then they go to work for that particular business. The good news there is that these dollars are available until June of 2026. And we're hoping to be able to be in line for the next earmark, whatever that might be and whenever that might be, to bring additional resources into Stoughton. What we've heard from a number of community people is that they cannot continue to be taxed. Property values are going up in the Stoughton area. Therefore, in some cases, taxes are going up a little. And what we're trying to do is to bring more revenue to the town through the development of the downtown area. Any of us that goes through Stoughton after 6 o'clock all know it's pretty much a ghost town. With some development, we would bring more people, other types of businesses, and a liveliness to the area that hopefully will promote more customers for the businesses so that they can stay open later, and attract other businesses that feel as if they're outpriced in the Boston area, don't want to be in the Brockton area, and feel as this is a very competitive area for them to do business in. So we really look to see and take advantage of the opportunities that exist in the downtown area.
Has the MBTA community's restrictions and has that affected this plan at all?
No, but I think as Chairman Kelly had indicated, we're about 12%, in terms of the affordability. We could only add to that. It makes it a little bit easier to attract some developers, knowing that they're not forced into having to comply with the MBTA requirements.
I understood that to be separate from affordable housing.
Yes, it
that
is.
it's multifamily, period.
Multifamily, period.
But the downtown zoning we just approved, that actually meets the criteria for what the MBTA is requiring. There's some parts of the plan that we haven't done yet to study to show how many units we can actually put in there with a blank slate. And the town is working on those types of things right now. But our zoning, actually, we were kind of a little bit ahead of the curve from everybody else. We've kind of met what the MBTA is looking for with the new downtown zoning. We have some other criteria we need to meet for their overall assessment of the area that we've assigned. But that's being worked on right now. But that should, I mean, if anything, it's only gonna help the plan that they're trying to do with the overall what they're doing.
Okay, well, that's kind of what I was asking.
So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Jeff, unless there are, any other questions. I'd like to turn it over to Jeff.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Reggie. And Mr. Roth is going to help with our little slideshow tonight. Thank you, Bill. I am Jeff Fasser. I work with the company BSC Group out of Boston, located at 803 Summer Street in Boston. And what we want to do tonight very quickly is just reintroduce you to the project area, but more importantly, talk about the urban renewal process and why we're here tonight, and why we need your vote to move this forward in the next step.
So just step back for a second.
Sure.
The plan, the outline of the plan you had, is that the central business district as it's zoned
Yeah.
now? Is that the same outline? Or is that
Very
something
close
different?
to.
So it is different?
It's slightly different. The boundary of the urban renewal area was established before you set your new zoning in place. But obviously, you all know your new zoning for downtown, the core, the transition, and the
Right.
flex. It's very close to those boundaries. There's a map in the report that
Right, is there a
shows-
reason we didn't stay within those boundaries?
The boundary of the urban renewal area was identified prior to the zoning.
Okay, but once the zoning got established, which that zoning outline is basically what the downtown was before. We didn't expand or delete from the old smooth overlay district that we had. So I'm just wondering why that wasn't maintained in that same fashion with what you're doing. Is there a reason why we did something different? And the reason I ask is because the zoning we're talking about only pertains to the area that we did.
Right.
And if you're outside that area, now you're trying to do something that's beyond what the scope of what our zoning is.
There were a couple parcels on the fringes that the redevelopment authority thought it was important to include, that were just outside the zoning that you worked on. But obviously, they don't, the redevelopment proposed for those parcels is appropriate for the zoning, and that's currently in those areas. It doesn't assume that the zoning for downtown is gonna be expanded.
Okay.
So in the process here, just very quickly, I just wanna make the point that up to this point, which is the blue box of meeting with you tonight, there's been a lot of community involvement. The redevelopment authority established a citizens advisory committee, which was very helpful during the process, and actually a very knowledgeable and informed advisory committee. So there was a lot of interaction with the public to get to this point. And then once we present to you and hopefully get the vote we're looking for, the next step is to town council and again, the public hearing there, and then it goes to the state for their approval. Just very quickly, urban renewal is a state program, and it has very specific requirements of what needs to go into a plan, and we meet all those requirements in the plan. And as part of those requirements, one of the things that they ask for is that the planning board looks at the plan and votes that the plan is consistent with other planning documents in the community. The other thing the urban renewal program talks about is what benefits the community can achieve by having an urban renewal plan in place. It's basically a plan to help encourage and facilitate economic investment in areas of a community that are struggling economically. Reggie kind of went over some of the struggles now. So that's one of the main things that an urban renewal plan does. But it also, in doing so, it provides the redevelopment authority the ability to help facilitate investment and development of certain parcels in the area that are underperforming, that could be, redeveloped, new structures or new businesses brought into existing buildings if they're rehabilitated to help revitalize a in this case, the downtown area. And we can get into some of the specific actions in a minute. And also under the urban renewal program, and this is why we're here tonight, the urban renewal plan must be based on what the state calls a local survey and conforms to any existing planning documents covered that refer to the urban renewal area, which is, in this case, is a downtown area. So what this means from the state's perspective is, does the plan build off of any other planning documents that have already been approved for this area? And one being the master plan you did. The other is the zoning. It needs to be consistent with zoning, and the plan is consistent with zoning. And in fact, the redevelopment authority held back on producing the plan until the new zoning came into place, so it would be consistent with the new zoning that's in place now. These are all the different planning documents we looked at in preparing this plan, and the ones that are highlighted or bolded are the ones that were most important to us, but we did look at all these different planning documents, from economic to open space to traffic, et cetera, to make sure we were consistent where there was a need to be consistent. Most importantly, you may recall this planning effort. Reggie said we started back in 2020, but there was some previous work done to really set the stage for this planning document. And that planning document built upon the master plan and this vision that was part of the master plan, the vision for downtown being the municipal, social, and cultural heart of the community, and the proposed actions within the plan built upon that vision and help bringing it to a reality. The plan also builds off of certain goals that were in the master plan, such as addressing issues that prevent the private investment. That's really the economic catalyst for a project like this. Giving the redevelopment authority some capacity to take actions to help the community with economic investment in this area. Build relationships with other entities in the community that can help with this revitalization of downtown, and then undertake some specific projects that will catalyze the revitalization of downtown. All those are addressed in the plan through a variety of things, such as partnerships with existing organizations, identifying key parcels that need to be, that are underperforming, and in some cases, the assembling of multiple parcels into a larger parcel, make them more attractive for redevelopment. Infrastructure updates, mainly streets and sidewalks, which gets to the next ones on streetscape enhancements. Traffic and parking improvements. Traffic was, quite honestly, there's limited opportunities for traffic improvements downtown, unless you want to make some really drastic changes, but there are recommendations in here for parking improvements, and then the addition of open space into downtown, which we know has been talked about for quite a while. Even though it's not part of what we're asking you to approve, property acquisitions always come up as an item of concern with an urban renewal plan. And I just want to make it clear to you and the public what that means. It means that not every parcel in an urban renewal area could be acquired by the redevelopment authority. It's only those parcels that are specifically identified for potential acquisition. And I say potential because that's true. In most cases, all the parcels that are identified for acquisition are not acquired. Investment comes in, and in many cases, investment happens on these parcels without the redevelopment authority being involved. So therefore, that's the third bullet. Not all properties identified will be acquired, and not all properties that may be acquired by the redevelopment authority are taken by eminent domain. An urban renewal plan gives the redevelopment authority the ability to negotiate with property owners and come up with a mutual agreement on how, on a sale price for that property, which is built off of 2 independent appraisals to assure property owners getting fair market value. And then, as Reggie mentioned earlier, if there are any businesses within those buildings, they are eligible for relocation assistance. There's a certain state process that has to go through, but basically, there should be no money out of pocket to them. If they're relocated elsewhere, everything gets paid for through the relocation process. This is the heart of the downtown area, as you know, and this is a diagram that shows proposed new buildings on those parcels that were identified as key parcels for redevelopment. Some are short-term and some are long-term. The post office is identified as long-term. It's obviously a vital operation to have downtown, but there is a lot of parking associated with that. That parking could be put to better use. In this case, the pink identifies mixed-use buildings, but that would be a long-term. Other actions such as parcels along Porter, some parcels along Wyman are identified, and you'll see further on, as some of the shorter-term actions. There is what appears on this plan is kind of a gray building at the end of railroad, along the railroad tracks. That is a proposed new parking structure with the thought that the redevelopment authority or the town would work with the MBTA to hopefully get a parking garage built there. So there's a number of different components that go into this plan. But overall, it brings new mixed-use redevelopment, which includes new residential downtown. It also includes open spaces, which I'll get into in a little bit here. Also, for each one of these parcels and buildings in the plan, it's keyed to a letter and then there's a chart that talks about what's being proposed on these parcels. And just because the plan says what could be built there, it doesn't mean that has to be built there. The state says you can't just put out a plan that says, wouldn't it be wonderful if we did this? The state wants a plan that says, here's what could feasibly be built on this site. This build out conforms with the current zoning, which actually helped quite a bit with what could happen down here. But if a developer comes in on their own and proposes redevelopment, hopefully the community will look at, like this board will look at this plan to see if it's consistent, but they don't have to match this plan exactly. If the redevelopment authority helps with the redevelopment of certain parcels here, they can be a little more definitive about what they want to see on that parcel. But again, it doesn't have to follow this exactly. This shows a realistic build out based on the information we have right now. And again, this is the chart associated with each one of those letters that shows what could be built on those parcels. We can get back to this if you want to get into more detail.
Is this chart in our book?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Good, Bill. And these are some graphics that were generated to show what is being recommended in the plan. So here you can see the railroad tracks on the bottom, the old depot building, the proposed new town center park, which would be where the parking lot is adjacent to the depot building. And then just a massing diagram of some of the buildings that could go in along Wyman, and again in the post office area in the future. And again, these all meet current zoning, massing and height setback. It's not much of a setback, but massing and height regulations. This is looking down Wyman, which was seen as a major connector from Washington into the area with some more green space for pedestrian comfort and activity, certainly keeping the view to the depot building, which was considered important because it's kind of an iconic structure downtown.
Exactly. So I don't know what the scale is here, whether you're looking at the massing and height, but the massing and height as far as the 4- and 5-story buildings does not go down Wyman Street for the very fact of trying to see the tower. So that's part of when the core, when we step down into the transition zone.
Okay.
Wyman Street is part of the transition area, so it doesn't have those high buildings, and it was specifically done that way for the view of the tower when we're looking down that street. So I'm not sure how your scale is working, but that was not what Wyman Street is expected or wanted to be in the part of the plan, the zoning plan, nor the master plan when we created it.
Well, thank you for pointing that out, and we'll double check it, because we definitely made a mistake there. And then this is the parcel over on Pleasant, which is the old Randolph Savings Bank, where the recreation department is. And their redevelopment authority has been talking with the select board about this parcel with the desire to have parking on that parcel, but also housing. So this shows a realistic build out with parking underneath and some residential above. And then, again, it's a 20-year plan, as Reggie mentioned, working with the Redevelopment Authority and the Citizens Advisory Group. We came up with short-term, medium, and long-term actions. So each one of these is tied with certain text and recommendations of the urban renewal plan. But some of these things are already underway, such as working on the quiet zone for the rail line coming through town. And then other things such as the looking at Porter and Wyman as kind of some of the initial areas where some investment may take place. One, because there are needs there, and also because some of the property owners have already informally said, yeah, they'd like to be part of, not part of, but they support redevelopment in those, along those two areas. And then the transfer of the site of the former Randolph Savings Bank to the to the Redevelopment Authority so that they could help jumpstart the redevelopment of that parcel. And then there are midterm, again, we kind of grow out from Porter and Wyman into other parcels in the downtown area and looking at streetscape improvements. And again, as Reggie mentioned, there's money out there and it's only gonna be out there for a couple more years. So whatever the Redevelopment Authority and the town can do, I'm sorry, do I keep referring to you as a city? Sometimes I apologize. What the town can do collectively to go after some of this money for public realm improvements, the time is right to do that because there's a lot of federal money available. And then there's a long-term actions also. And then this is where we get into items like the post office site and the police station site, which if the police station was to relocate or new one be built somewhere else, that becomes a prime redevelopment parcel also. Okay, Bill? So again, where we are right now, we're here to the planning board, as I mentioned earlier, then we'll go on to the select board for their vote. SRA finalizes things and then goes to DHCD for their final approval. They have to approve all urban renewal plans. So that's our quick overview. Sorry if I was too quick, but Reggie went over a lot of things. I tried to supplement it, but we're here to answer any questions you may have. But again, we're asking for your vote to confirm that our request that the plan was developed in conformance with the master plan as well as other planning documents.
So there's been some review by the town planner and by the economic officer in town.
Yes.
I'm assuming you've seen those reviews that have already been out there.
Correct.
I would like, we're not gonna vote in this tonight, which I think we've made that clear prior to this. I'd like to have my members have a chance to review this along with the master plan so that we have an understanding of everything that's going on. But as part of that, I would like you guys to respond to some of the comments and things that have been made in those reports so that we're having an understanding and a dialogue over the next couple of weeks, whether it by email or however you want to do that, to get that information to us so that, it becomes part of the review that we're doing and looking this over.
Sure.
I don't want it to be an isolated thing. I think that just us making a comment doesn't necessarily, it's all one-sided. I want you guys to be able to give a comment back so that when we do get a chance to vote on this, that we have all of the information that we feel we need. We've, as a board, have reviewed all that information and had then had a chance to go vote on it. So I think it's important, and I didn't, when this was first presented and everybody said, well, we gotta review it and do it in one night, it's not gonna happen. It's just, there's too much information. I worked for years putting together the master plan, sat on the board for many years to do that, so it's important for me to take time to look at this, because you guys have taken years to put this together.
Yes.
I can't imagine that you'd expect us to look at this in 5 minutes and say, yeah, we're okay.
No, understood.
All right, so.
There is a lot there. I read through it the other night on my laptop.
Yeah, it's
Good for you.
I have multiple glasses. I wore them out. There is a lot there.
It is quite extensive.
Yes.
And we did get the comments from the town.
Yes.
We only got it a couple of days ago, so we did read through it. But between having our own board meeting Wednesday evening, trying to get ourselves prepared for tonight, and we did read the comments, and some of the things that we saw were glaring that we certainly could respond to. One of the things that that seemed to be, an overall consensus was about making sure that the redevelopment authority worked with the town and the planning board. That is absolutely our intention. We do not feel as if we could do this by ourselves. We feel very strongly that we all need to be on the same page, and if we're on the same page, we're that much stronger when we're asking for assistance, particularly from the State House as well as the federal government. So we will respond, but a couple of things that we sort of saw was a general thing was on making sure that we participated with the town, both the planning board, the select board, and the town hall. And we fully intend to do that. We don't think that we can do this by ourselves. We more prefer to be enablers. And that's why we're looking to talk to the property owners, because we want to get a sense. Do you want to be in Stoughton? If you do want to be in Stoughton, how can we help you? And we got varying responses. We talked to developers, both developers from Stoughton as well as folks from outside Stoughton. And they gave us some real honest answers. Some didn't know that the zoning had been revamped, but when informed of it, they knew, oh, that's something good, and we see opportunities, and are willing to invest some of their private dollars into, and we'll continue to do that. One of the things that we're not sure if folks really understand is that whatever the process is today is the same process that we want to go through tomorrow. So anybody that has a particular project needs to come to the planning board, needs to go to the select board, and whatever other processes that need to happen, that will continue to occur. So we don't think, and we don't want to be, sort of the lead. We want to be the enabler. We want to be able to talk to the folks on the outside about bringing additional financial resources into Stoughton, because, as I said, Stoughton is the gateway into Boston. And when people ride through here, we would like to see 3% of those cars stop and do some commerce here, so that I think the federal government has, for every $50,000 that is made in profits, creates one job. And if we can begin to see that happening, bring some livelihood to the downtown area, we think that we can bring Stoughton back to where it was a number of years ago.
Very good. Yes, Richard.
Yeah, I have two.
You upset? No, go ahead.
I have two questions. Sir, you said, Reggie, you mentioned that your partner there was working with Randolph, has been working with the town of Randolph?
Yes.
And is that plan, is that plan ongoing now, or is it completed, or what
Yeah.
phase is it in?
That plan was completed the end of 2021, approved in 2022 by the state, and right now they are in the process of hiring I think they just hired someone to help implement the plan. So someone to take the lead on it for the town to implement.
Do they have a similar core center?
Yeah, it's the center of Randolph, and if you know the center of Randolph, it has a lot of parking lots.
It does.
So they're looking to
So
rebuild in those areas.
I want to give, is anybody from the public looking to speak tonight on this? Okay, because I've got to do this quick. I've got basically 10 minutes. We've been asked to finish by 9:30, so I want the two gentlemen that sat here all night, if they do want to speak, I'd like to give them an opportunity to say something. Yeah, just step off and then let them speak, and then we can move on. Thank you.
Peter Murphy, 60 Peters Drive, Town Meeting Rep, Precinct 2. This is real good information, and one of the things that I noticed, I think I met you before, Reggie, and what happens is that before my big concern is the sidewalks on Turnpike Street. And one of the questions that I got from tonight is, if you don't ask the question about the money, you don't get the money. And what you're telling me here with your presentation, there is money available for the town to do things such as sidewalks. All right, and I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but I noticed here, going through real quickly on page 93, state funding, Mass Works, right?
I could address that quickly. Right, the money isn't guaranteed. No one hears you.
Oh.
It's okay. Yeah, the money isn't guaranteed, but the state likes to see that the community has a plan and has a vision, and if they invest in certain areas, it's part of a bigger effort to help. So a plan like this makes you more eligible for state or federal funding.
Correct.
It's no
And that-
guarantee, but at least it.
That was one of the things I brought before Reggie and all that, and again, you've seen me at many meetings here, you have different projects coming in, you are, in this, for example, there's a project that was on the schedule tonight, got moved out, and they're developing down on Turnpike Street, they're bringing in a big project down there that's gonna affect the traffic. And again, that's my biggest heartburn is, we need sidewalks down that area, that whole area is being commercially developed. And the downtown is great, you gotta work on that. But there's other parts of the town that have to be looked at. So, I'm very much in favor of getting, more involved in this here. But, yeah, again, you know where I'm going with that, so I think I've taken enough of your time.
Thank you.
The other comment I will make is, when I was working in Framingham and coming home, I would come through Natick.
Yep.
And what happens is I could smell garlic and steak. If you could have that downtown, you'd have people stopping more.
Just, if I could, just 20 seconds. There is state funding for sidewalks, and you have a complete street policy in town, and you can go after funding for sidewalks through that, because you already have a complete street program in place. But you may have other priorities. It's up to the town to figure out how to.
I'll talk to you, talk to Reggie with his, but,
Thank you.
thanks.
One.
Hey, David Lurie, Precinct 6, 18 Robinette Road, and sign me up for anything that's to do with improving the downtown, so if all these things come to fruition, I'm all in, so that's terrific. I do have some good news. The comments about, historically it's correct, we've never been good at getting economic development money from earmarks or state monies that can flow through to us. We've been very good at getting infrastructure type things. We get sewer funds. We've gotten grants for things that have to do with infrastructure, just not usually economic development. However, something changed. In January, we brought in a new town manager. The town manager we have today is very well connected with the state process to get earmarks. And he's actually working, because last month they voted on a purpose for the railroad depot. We now have a community center for the arts. I'm calling it for the arts. They haven't said that, but I'm adding that clause to it. And because they did that, we're eligible to actually apply for those kind of earmarks. And I wanted to give a thanks, because the plan that you have in front of you was actually updated since then, because 2.7 was going to actually have to do with turning it into a private through acquisition and so forth and so on, but now it recognizes it as a public space for the town to use. So I was grateful to see that. And the only question I have is process related. This is kind of a public hearing, but it's not really a public hearing, right? It is a public hearing.
It is a public hearing. It's been advertised and done.
Well, there's open meetings and then there's public hearings.
It's an advertised public hearing under Mass General Law.
I'm just asking a process question.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
I'm just asking a question. Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't mean to be.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
I sometimes come across like I'm being argumentative. I'm not. I'm just trying to.
What's the question?
The question has to do with a public hearing at the select board because I think that's the proper place for a public hearing.
So
I know that this checks a box.
No.
I do
So
know
the
that
pro-
this checks a box.
This is an ad, they are going to do a public hearing with the select board. This was, they came before us asking for a vote a vote from us to be able to recommend this to the select board into the town. In order to get that vote, I asked town council and the previous town, the acting town manager, acting planning board person, Pam McCarthy, to get a ruling on how we should do this. 'Cause I felt it needed to be a public hearing
Yes.
for us to vote on it, and that was what the ruling came down. So we're holding a public hearing, but there will be an additional public hearing with the select.
Well, through you, thank you, because while you have a public hearing, it can't just be a checking the box that they've achieved a public hearing here, because
No.
my belief, it should be also a public hearing at the select board level.
And they are going to do that.
That's
This
all
was-
I'm saying.
This was
'cause
only,
this-
this
well,
was at our request, because we were being asked for a vote. And
I
said
understand,
no.
I just didn't want it to be a checking the box saying we accomplished our public hearing,
No.
we're done.
If you looked at
And-
your list,
yeah,
actually, it
yeah,
talked
yeah.
about them going to a public hearing with the select board.
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah,
Chairman?
Yes.
State law requires both.
A public hearing at both.
Correct.
Thank
Yeah.
you, then that
That's what-
answers it.
Yep,
That
state
answers-
law-
thank-
state law requires
Well,
both.
perfect, that answers my question. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank
You're
you.
all set. So, for right now, I'm going to, you guys ask for a continuance, please, if you want to. If you don't, we may not be able to vote on it.
Well, in that case, we'll ask for the continuance.
Okay.
We would like to be able to get on as soon as possible, though, and I know that I overheard that, you know, you've got a number of things that are coming up
Correct.
that makes your agenda pretty full. And it looked like May 25th or something to that,
Is that what we have available?
you know?
So if you would like to continue to May 25th, then that's.
If we can get on, if that's as soon as we can get on, then that's what we would like to be able to do.
The public hearing has to be continued to a date certain, so you either have to continue it in 2 weeks. You know, I think it's whatever the comfort level of the thing is. It could go on the May 11th, but, you know, the May 25th is
May
preferred.
25th, we have open. I think that's what we
Correct.
ought to
That's the
continue to
preferred.
that one, then.
If that's the preferred, you know, we
Let's
will
go with
absolutely do that. We'll be prepared. If you need to change it to the 11th, we'll be prepared for
Thank
that
you.
as well.
I don't want to cut you short, but I appreciate the continuous, but I need to get two more things out of the way, and I'm on a time frame. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Okay, I would like to, we gotta get these ones voted on.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The ones that are emailed you, I revised these. You'll see it has a footer at the bottom.
Yep.
It's in your packet. I took a look. I corrected some items and I revised them. Either you can do it now, or we could put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
I know people have reviewed them. I don't know if you're comfortable voting on these now, or if you would like to take some time, but we don't have a lot of time to vote, so a lot of time to review. While you're looking, if you're comfortable voting on them tonight, we can do that. Just, you guys gotta let me know.
Yeah, I'm fine with the minutes, I've read them at all.
Then, are you okay with voting on? So if I could have a motion to accept the meeting minutes for March 23rd, 2023. Do I have a second? All in favor? Thank you. Other business, just quickly, Rich, what happened at the meeting today? Did you get to? Okay. What happened with the meeting today? Did you go to the meeting about the depot with Pam or not?
Regarding the train station,
Train
yes.
station.
I've been asked to be a member of that group, and there were 4 in attendance. The select board chair, Pam McCarthy, the consultant, and myself. They had already had a meeting with staff at the town hall yesterday. They came up with a number of ideas. And in addition to what they voted for in terms of cultural center, or what David referred to, we discussed ways in which we could actually make some revenue. And I mentioned that it should be used as an event venue where you could have a wedding reception, a graduation party, because we have PNC, Louis Camões, St. John's Portuguese Club, the VFW, KSC, and they're booked solid all the time. This would be one excellent place where you could charge full rate for a party to come in fully catered, plenty of parking after hours, and we could make money there, in addition to some other
So that was the highlight.
Great. Thank you very much for the update.
I'm sorry?
Thank you for the update.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. I just wanted, I really do want to know what happened at that meeting, so thank you. Anybody else have anything else for business? Can I have a motion to close the meeting?
So made.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Everybody, thank you very much.
Thanks.